Today we're joined by Jack Freestone, the founder and lead buyer's agent at Buyers Collective, and somebody who brings an incredible depth of experience to the property game. Now, Jack isn't just a buyer's agent. He's a seasoned investor, developer, and property strategist who's personally purchased more than 150 properties across Australia and New Zealand. He's been hands-on with everything from subdivisions and building of new townhouses to high-end property renovations, which gives him a rare end-to-end understanding of how real property value is created in the Australian property market. We love Jack's story because Buyers Collective was built to solve a real problem. Buyers were going up against skilled sales agents with no one truly advocating for the buyers themselves. And Jack saw that he could remove the stress and the costly mistakes that people were making. And as such, he created the Buyers Collective to level the playing field. Today, he and his team at buyers agents offer better opportunities and how to avoid the traps and make much smarter long-term decisions. We're going to be diving into his journey, the processes that he uses, and what he works with and how he works with buyers in today's market. Let's get into the show. Jack Freestone, welcome to the Buyers Agents podcast.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Lovely to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. It's great to finally meet you guys and put a face to the name. Thanks for having me here today.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. And we were just talking about your recent birthday. How old are you?
I'm 32 now.
32.
So getting old.
They're getting old. I love the way that they say that. 32. Well, I'm 12 years older than you. And, 12 years is a long time. But, your depth of knowledge and experience that you've had over your career to date, and now leading you to run the Buyers Collective.
Yeah.
Where did that begin?
Look, it's hard to pinpoint it exactly where all this sort of stemmed from, but I grew up as a bit of a farm child. My parents had a property on the hinterland of Byron Bay, about 30 acres there, and I grew up as a little farm boy, and I ran around, had lots of chickens, ducks, and all the animals you can think of, and fruit trees and stuff like that. My parents renovated our house at one point, and I remember being there during that period, and then my parents split up when I was pretty young, and my mum went off into property as well and started renovating and doing a couple of builds and things like that. So I had a bit of an interest from a young age there. Unfortunately, never ended up working together with my mother or doing anything. Ended up going a completely different path at the time. I left home at 14 and ended up moving to Melbourne, living down in Melbourne for a number of years. And from there, I moved to Bali, and I started a cafe called Cafe Organic Bali. It was a huge success with my partner at the time. And so we started opening up, additional locations and just trying to, keep up with running a business as a young 19, 21-year-old, and did that for about 6 years. And then I came back to Australia, back to Melbourne briefly, and then flew to New Zealand. My mum's Kiwi, and we have a bit of family over there. So I just thought I'd have a bit of a reset. And then I just started, listening to podcasts and looking into property and just trying to, wrap my head around it and teach myself as much as I possibly could. And eventually I just met this couple. She's this young couple, and they were interested in property, and they had money and they wanted to invest and do property development, but they didn't really have the confidence to jump in. And I ended up working together with them, and I found a subdivision site, and I pitched to them to fund the site and the development, and it was to subdivide it and put 2 new houses on it and then resell. And they agreed, and we went halves in the profits, and it was a huge success. And then they continued to fund future developments from there. I had more investors come on board, and we kept doing different types of developments, a number of renovations and new builds, townhouses and things like that. And then COVID happened. The world started shutting down, and developers and builders started going broke left, right, and centre. So it sort of, it got a bit iffy there in the building sort of sector and developing area. Family were telling me to come home and to offload everything. And so I wrapped up a lot of my developments, and I purchased a property on the Gold Coast and Mermaid Waters, another one down in Byron Bay, and I already had an investment property down in Byron Bay that I purchased before my 21st birthday. And so from there, I just started renovating the house in Byron Bay. The borders shut down, and things just sort of unfolded from there. I'd probably purchased 50 odd properties at the time, and then I stumbled across the buyer's agency space, and I just started looking into it, and I just thought I'd be really good at it. I already do it. Friends and family were asking me about property, and so yeah, I just thought I would dive in head first.
Wow, there's so much to unpack
That was
there.
just sort of like a quick snapshot
I bet.
of my life.
Oh, look, I wanted to jump back to Bali. I
Yeah.
want to understand that journey.
Yeah.
I've actually got another podcast called Sweat Equity Podcast, and
Yeah.
you look like a healthy young man, and or a healthy older man, and you'd say, but healthy young man in my book.
That's
and
it.
we talk about business and how that strategies have impacted decisions, and I mean that life story, and just a snapshot is.
Talk to me about the Bali thing for a second.
Yeah.
So was it just a normal cafe, or was it like a special? Was there something different about it?
Yeah, so we sort of marketed it through influencers at the time. A lot of it made it really Instagrammable, photogenic, smoothie bowls, made the presentation really, really photogenic, and had like a little bit of like a wow factor wall where people could stand in front of, that had our cafe name and then some cool artwork behind it, and people would come to the cafe, and it was the place to go and be seen at, and ended up with lines down the street, and we couldn't hold like the capacity. And
Where was it?
and
Canggu or
so we started in
Seminyak?
Seminyak at our first location, and we expanded and took over the shop next door, and then knocked down one of the walls overnight, expanded into that space, and then we ended up opening another store in Canggu, and just
So back this time, Canggu wouldn't have been what it is today, would it?
no,
Like
it's completely different.
It was
now.
farmland, and
Yeah.
now it's-
Rice paddies were still around back then.
rice
you
paddies.
know.
Now they call it the goo.
Yeah,
like I'm going to the goo.
You could actually get across the Canggu shortcut too. Right now it's all gridlocked, so it's a different place now.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's a lot of people moving there, and that's why it's really great to get this insight from you. And that's why we touched on it first. Is a lot of people moving there. They're leaving Australia for X, Y, or Z reason, Gen X's, Gen Ys, or whatever. And people with families because of whatever their belief is that the government is or isn't doing. So back then, that didn't really exist. It seemed like a bit of a Wild West frontier, and you made the decision to move there very early on. Like, what was there influences that, not the influences out there that you wanted to sell your coffee, but and your protein bars, but was there influences within yourself that made you want to do it?
I've always been like creative and wanting to do business and make my own way sort of thing. But my partner at the time, I had a French girlfriend, and she lived over there with her family, so that was obviously a driving factor. But being so young, a lot of the people that lived there, like expats, owned businesses and ran successful businesses to be able to support themselves, because the locals get paid between $150 and $250 a month to live off, so that's not something that you could really survive on, especially at that age. So it was either I had to come up with some either business or idea to be able to support myself, because I didn't have any family support and wasn't in a position like that.
That's an interesting take, because you're actually surrounding yourself with like-minded people. It's like those moving to Dubai. You have to be of like mind to really be the self-starter and the go-getter and see opportunity where itself, because the government's not there to help you. You can't just go and get a job comparatively to the local economy. as you mentioned. Fast track then. We come to Byron. I really want to touch into the northern New South Wales. We have a place in Brunswick Heads, which we just
beautiful
we
place.
love.
Yeah.
Absolutely stunning.
Yeah, one of my investments is in Ocean Shores.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's grown tenfold in the past.
Yeah,
15
it's
years.
exploded. It's incredible because it's just got the Byron Bay beaches, but without the people. Sort of like Brunswick Heads, right? It's just less known. There's like one shop in the whole suburb. And it's got those pristine white beaches that everyone loves.
And you can be South Golden Beach, Ocean Shores. You're literally on the ocean. And Gray going down in Byron, and every other billionaires row down there is spending 20, 30, 40, 50 million
on
dollars.
that block. Yeah, crazy.
Right? And then you can go up to Brunswick Heads and just around, and you can get riverside or ocean living for a lot less.
Yeah, a lot less. It's still sub 10, I would say, even sub 5 in some pockets there.
Yeah.
Which is really worth it.
So that buying those 50 properties or such in and around Byron, was that for just friends and family that were
that was across New Zealand, Gold Coast and Byron Bay at the time. Yeah.
And was that, and were people, were you a buyer's agent then, or was
that was just doing projects. So I was doing a lot of flipping. So I was buying a house, and then I was renovating the house, and then I was on selling it. So I did lots of renovations, but then there was a small lot subdivision. So just 1 into 2, 1 into 3, 1 into 4. Largest I did was 1 into 6. And then there was just small like new builds. So I buy a block of land and I put 3 townhouses on it, and or I buy 1 block of land at a good price and just do a new build and then on sell that.
Wow.
You find yourself on the tools very much.
Oh yeah, I definitely wasn't. That wasn't what I had in mind at the time. So I had other people funding the project, and I would be the skills partner and manage the whole project from start to finish, and make sure that it was a success. But there were times where budgets might blow out, or costs, unforeseen costs happen. And I did find myself, with a wheelbarrow and a bunch of rocks, going down the driveway and doing garden beds and planting trees and stuff and painting walls and
adding value as much as you could.
All that sort of stuff, which really does help though, as a young man trying to get into the property space and having to spot issues and talk to trades and have those tough conversations about, hey, that's not good craftsmanship, or that has to be redone, or that's not done properly. Really gives you a good eye of understanding what a quality build is. Now when it comes to buying for my clients, I walk through a house and what the general person that doesn't quite know how a build works or hasn't been in that space, you can walk in and it can all look beautiful and pretty, but it can be a really dodgy reno, or there could be hidden issues that you can really spot with that sort of experience behind you.
An ongoing theme that we've had over the last couple of podcasts that we've recorded was the fact that buyers agents really become these advocates for their customers, and it's safe to say that it's quite polar opposite to what a real estate agent is. And even just hearing your story about how you've come from this background of the management of an actual development and getting actually on the tools. Yeah. I think that kind of speaks to the fact that you're still there, mentally you're still doing everything you can for your buyers, right?
Yeah, well, the approach that we take in my business is that we believe that every buyer deserves the same level of representation as the seller. And if we treat every purchase as if it were our own, just with the buyer's criteria and goals in mind, we can never go wrong with a purchase. So when I'm approaching a home and considering my clients and their needs and wants and goals, I also think to myself, would I buy this? Would I drop $2 million on this property? Is it worth it? Is it valued correctly? Are these the right terms? Is this the right property, or can we get something better? And I really try to come from that approach, and I think our clients really feel that as well. And that sort of sets us apart from a lot of other people in the industry, a lot of commission breath out there, a lot of people that just just hungry just to get a deal done and just sign the document, just pay the price. The market's always going up. You'll never lose sort of attitude. And so I think that's the thing that sort of sets Buyers Collective apart from the rest.
So, what type of client do you enjoy most working with? Is it any sort of client?
No, I wouldn't say I enjoy working with every sort of client. Predominantly in our business, we service first-time home buyers. That's probably the most rewarding type of purchase I find for myself, but it's also one of the most difficult purchases because it's a bit of an emotional roller coaster throughout the whole journey because you've got to educate them throughout the process on locations and upside potential and potential red flags and things to look out for, as well as nurture them throughout the whole process and be that soundboard around one property versus another property or this location versus that location. And that can be a real roller coaster sometimes. And that's what they're paying us for, to be able to be that voice of reason, to be able to help them get into the right home. And that's what sort of makes it so rewarding. With investors, sometimes a lot of the time, they'll just come to you and they'll have a budget and a location of interest, and that they're quite just a numbers focus, and it's quite easy and quick to buy for typically. But it's not so enjoyable or rewarding. It's more just it's just more business focus, I guess.
I think there's so many things I want to ask you, which I find fascinating with a guest, particularly. I don't want to be ageist here, but particularly your age. And I think the wealth of experience you've had, and you can only gain experience. I posted on Instagram about the other day that time in market and longevity is absolutely essential.
It can't be.
And it can't be overrun. To be 32 and have had that experience, and then to be focused on working or enjoy working with first-time buyers. If I'm a first-time buyer and I want to know about this is one of the questions, I want to understand about that buyer in Brisbane, who is a first-time buyer, and because there's the element of marketing. We'll talk about marketing, what you're doing. I think what you're doing is really great. But these guys, you're relatable to them. If they've got their deposits saved up and they've made some money, and they're ready to get into the market, you're relatable. Whereas somebody else may not be.
Yeah.
You mentioned where you live earlier. It's close to the CBD. You're in the hive of activity. And that experience and the people that are living in and around you are potentially renters. Yep. Or you're seeing the renters at the gym, or you're seeing and then they're making the decision that they want to buy. Now they've got no information. They don't have any knowledge.
Yeah, everyone's got an opinion as well. So it's so much information, it's almost overload. You don't know what to do.
So is that premeditated in a way in which you've, and not in a bad way, that you've come across these first-time buyers, or has that just been a natural affiliation of who you are?
Yeah, I think it's just sort of the way our business or myself has just sort of started to lean into a little bit more, because when I initially started the buyers agency, everyone said, are you going to do the investor model, or are you just going to do the home buyer model? And initially I wasn't too sure which direction would have been the smartest with my background, having, more of the development business numbers sort of thing. I was thinking that maybe the investor side would have been the smartest. But then you see these people sitting in Sydney and Melbourne behind a laptop buying all over Australia, getting property managers to go and inspect properties on their client's behalf and actually count on their word and make sure that they're showing you all the information and not leaving anything out of the videos. It didn't feel right to me to do an investment model like that, and so I just have naturally sort of lent more into servicing home buyers, and it's just become, I guess just naturally it's just happened to be more first time home buyers.
And would you see, it has been as difficult. So what are your thoughts actually? What are your thoughts on the fact, so we've got this new changes in regulation and 5% deposits now, and we've heard that there's bumps in price. We've seen bumps on prices increases. But is that first home buyer market really stressed that they're not going to be able to buy something? And how are you navigating that with them?
Yeah, it's super tough right now. So I wasn't quite sure how it was going to play out when the new scheme came into effect on the 1st of October, but it's definitely boosted prices. So I think, it seems at face value like it's really good and it helps people get into the market, but there's also a two-sided coin where it also just makes prices go up a lot more because people have more money to spend. So everyone that, was spending 750 can, possibly spend, 850, say, for example, for conversation's sake. Then it naturally starts pushing the market up to that level, and it brings in a lot more buyer activity, a lot more confidence into the marketplace as well. So to give you an example, I just purchased for a first-time home buyer, a lady that worked in one of the local hospitals here, and she wanted to be close to that hospital, and she wanted a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 1 car, either unit with a small courtyard for a dog, or a small townhouse, right? And her budget was sub 1 million. So she wanted to spend roughly around that 8 to 900,000. One of the properties that we were negotiating on had 11 written offers within the first open home, and it wasn't even some architectural masterpiece. It was just an average low set brick, low maintenance property. It was a villa. So yeah, very similar, but yes. Yeah, in a small boutique complex. It was a great property. We ended up getting it secured, but only because of experience and how I know the markets, because also we'd previously competed on a number of properties and missed out as well. So I knew where the market was sitting, what people were throwing at these things, and where they were ultimately ending up.
So, and without a buyer's agent, those 10 other people, let's say they didn't use a buyer's agent, effectively they're swimming against the professionalism of you, other 11 other budgets or 10 other budgets, and how are they going to survive? How are they
Well, there was actually other offers that were higher in price than our offer
And you
as
were able
well,
to
and we were still
structure it.
able to get it secured.
Yeah.
But that comes down to experience and knowing how to tailor an offer to a vendor's specific needs and what they're looking for. And that's where I guess having a buyer's agent on board really does help as well. It's obviously you've got real time insights into what's happening in the marketplace and pricing, because a lot of agents won't price a property because they don't know how, because the market's moving so quickly. Like last month, it went up 1.1% on $1 million. That's 11,000, after tax money that you've got to either have saved, or that you're compromising on in terms of property features or location.
And if you're in that bracket, it's a huge amount of money.
Huge amounts. I don't know if you can outsave the market the way it's going at the moment, unless you're balling. So yeah, it's pretty tough.
What on earth would make an agency take a lower offer over, I don't understand. Wouldn't they always just take the highest amount of money they can get?
No, so it's not always about the money for some people when they sell. Sometimes they have different circumstances. Sometimes they're moving on. Sometimes they want rent back. Sometimes maybe they've purchased something else and they want the settlement to line up with that. There's various different reasons why someone would accept a lower price and better terms that suit them.
And that comes down to the contract, right? So
yeah, the negotiation, the contract, understanding the seller's situation, really diving in. And if you're a professional buyer's agent, that this is basically part of your job. You've got to know exactly what the situation is, what the seller's looking for, what their situation is, and what do they want terms wise. Is it terms that's most important right now, or is it the price? And from that point, you've got to be able to determine and stay in close contact with the agent throughout the campaign to understand where it's sitting right to the D-Day.
I think that's critical, that piece, that especially in your generation, especially in that 20 to 30, and I'm sure you first time buyers beyond the age of 30 today, but they shout out to the nurses, right? The nurses, the medical facilities, they're working 40, 50, 60 hours.
Yeah,
They don't have the
exactly.
time. They're working on Saturdays, they're working on Sundays. They don't have the time, let alone, without you or without a buyer's agent there, to be able to go and have that frank conversation with the agent and extract that information and know the quivers in the voice of the agent, or the
Yeah,
things that just
yeah,
don't stack with the agent, or the
yeah,
relationship you might have.
exactly.
You hold that key,
Absolutely.
and so that's so
It's a
valuable.
huge factor right now, like, stock levels being at historical lows and buyer demand being through the roof makes it extremely competitive. I couldn't imagine having a full-time job, family commitments, kids, life on top of that, and then trying to buy a house in this type of market. It would drive me nuts. So, I do it full time, and it's fucking hard. It's not easy. And yeah, that's just the simple facts of
Yeah,
it right
and then you've
now.
also got all the access to the data. We were talking on a previous podcast about, how relevant is the realestate.com.au pricing valuation, and all of a sudden you buyer goes there, yes, I can afford this, and it's 20% more expensive.
Well, exactly. A lot of the properties that are, even listed with a price, they're getting so many offers and so many people throwing money at it that they're selling. Say if it's listed for 800,000, it might be selling for 950, a mil 50, 1. It's that ridiculous. And it's moving that quickly right now that it is really, really, really challenging to understand. You've really got to know how much interest is on each property. If there are any underlying issues, that's another thing that a lot of people don't know how to do is do simple due diligence on a property to understand its potential or its pitfalls and red flags. So
Well,
yeah.
actually, red flags is something I love talking about on these podcasts. You go and actually inspect the properties yourself.
Yeah,
That's a big
we don't
part.
buy any properties we can't inspect.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. So when you walk into a property, what are the red flags? What are the things that you look for? That'll just put you off. You just be like, no way.
And so before we enter a property, we always check the surroundings of the home. So we walk the streets to make sure there's no dodgy neighbors, there's no, rubbish or, old cars sitting in the yard or anything like that. So we walk the streets to check the neighborhood. We've usually, already done this several times because we're buying quite a lot. And then when we walk into a property, we walk the yard, we walk the fence line of the property to check if there's any issues. But prior to even getting to a property, we check all the flood mapping, bushfire overlays, future suburb development easements, the quality of the home, overland flow, the structural integrity of it when we get there is more like when you're inside the home, the quality of the build, the materials, are there, water stains on the ceiling? Could there be a possible leak or a tile missing up there where in the last storm, water's getting in? Just those sorts of things when you're walking through the property. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're a nurse and your focus is keeping somebody alive, 8 to 10 hours a day, what capacity do you have on a weekend to go, or on a Sunday when the open homes aren't even on, to understand that there's a leak potentially in the roof because of a spot that's been seen?
There's a potential bushfire hazard.
And then you're asked to take this your life savings and put it into a property. So I think there's so much value in that, but I also see the value around, your customer and who they are, that real demographic. Is there a specific one that you are seeing more of, or is it just they've come to you and obviously they see your marketing and they see you out there and get referrals?
I think that I do help a lot of nurses and doctors. They are a big portion of our business, a lot of nurses. But yeah, I'd say the first time home buyers is just a young couple. They're just a young couple. They're looking to upsize. Maybe they're looking to have their first child, or maybe they've just fallen pregnant and they're looking to expand into something a little bit bigger than their 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom unit. and they come to us, and we're able to assist because it is, yeah, as you said, so competitive, and they've got all those other commitments on top of everything else. So yeah.
Amazing.
Mm.
And so, in your business, the Buyers Collective,
Yep.
how many people?
Yeah, so
is
there's
you and a
4 of
partner?
us right now, and yeah, we're looking to expand, but obviously in a manageable way. I want to keep the quality of the service really high, and make sure that every buyer has the dedicated support that they need for each purchase. So obviously scale in a sensible, slow manner, and I think the hardest part of that is bringing on the right people. It's really hard to find good people out there, because if there is, someone of, our sort of, like myself, that's sort of, as good, typically they will go out and start their own thing, or do their own business, and so it does make it a bit tricky to find the right person.
There's a lot to be said of unison. I mean, we've seen it happen in the real estate market with there used to be your big brands, and then a lot of agents went out and started their own. The likes of Urban X have helped that, and uh, buyers agents generally it seems to be the person that's sort of leading, but there is now this more growth around the agency model, and growing that out. So people are going to a brand, which I think you've done really well in positioning your brand, but also your own personal brand. Because then people are following you, seeing you, but they're going then to the agency itself and looking to get
Well,
that
yeah,
service.
we're in the currency of attention now, and as much as I hate it, honestly, I couldn't hate it more, doing content and filming videos and getting in front of the camera. It's actually one of my pet peeves. But as a business owner, and in order to have a successful business and to have clients, you need to be trusted, you need to be known, and people need to see your face. And in order to do that, you have to put out content, you have to film, and you just have to get out there, and so you just have to add it to the job list, and then it's just repetitions on top of that, and start stacking it, and then eventually it starts to get a little bit easier, in high school, if I had to do a speech in front of the classroom, I'll go bright red and feel like I was going to pass out,
Do you know
like
how old I am? I got the vivid memory of driving across the Story Bridge in Brisbane and first hearing the word social media, right? I remember it from clear as day. But you've grown up with it, right? And so now with your daily structure, you've obviously become more confident in being able to do it. But with your daily structure, can you speak to that? Like you got 5 to 6 days of work. Are you allocating time a day? Are you allocating blocks? How do you generally do it?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to see my calendar. It's not a pretty sight. It's To be completely frank, it's trying to tie in, like, our customers come first and servicing our clients, and I oversee every purchase, and I'm involved in every purchase to make sure that our clients are buying the right properties. So I'm basically just trying to incorporate content around that as much as possible. And at the moment, because the market is so challenging, finding that time, that extra time to go out there and make more content and do videos and things like that around these properties is quite hard. So luckily we do work with a few different media agencies, and I'm able to make a phone call and say, hey, we're doing a pre-settlement inspection at this property. Can you, be there, take some photos and shoot a quick video and incorporate it that way? Or if I have, like yesterday, I met with a renowned builder, Izzy Design and Construct. He's building a $5.5 million luxury home in Hendra on Rita Street, and he was nice enough to take us through the property, and I was able to bring our videographer along, and he could tell us about the build and what he was doing with it, the quality, the layout, and everything, and show us
Where do we
through.
find you? Is it at Jack Freestone? What's your
Yeah,
handle?
so my handle on Instagram is just Jacked on Property. Yeah,
Jack?
Jacked on
Jacked
Property.
on Property.
Yeah.
So we'll,
So
pin
Jack
that here, Jacked on Property,
on
and maybe do
yeah,
the story as well because
yeah,
we love Hendra.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
we,
definitely. Oh, those videos should come out in the next couple of weeks.
yeah. So make
Um,
sure you give Jack a follow. But
yeah,
I think that artisanship
yeah,
of communicating, You get found out on social media pretty quickly.
Yeah, a lot of our clients come through social media, to be honest. We do obviously get a lot of referrals through mortgage brokers, financial planners, accountants,
Okay.
past clients.
Is that something you've set up?
Yeah, so obviously had to invest a lot of energy and time into meeting these people and building trust around that, servicing and going above and beyond for clients and to earn that position to have people referred through to you. But yeah, I don't think you never want to run a business and purely rely on one source of a lead generation like a referral, because it could evaporate at any moment. So, yeah, our business runs mainly from Instagram. That's where I'd say probably 80 to 90% of our clients come from.
Wow.
80 to 90%
That's,
of
that's,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there's a level of quality. If people go there and have a look, they'll see. But it's really that, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
produced really well.
Yeah, so there's a lot of customer testimonials where they're talking about their experience with us and how the service was and what we did or what we purchased and things like that. So I find if you're looking to work with someone, you want to see the runs on the board. You want to make sure that, hey, is Jack buying the types of properties that I want to buy? Is he buying it in the location that I'm interested in buying in? Does he know the streets? Does he know who owns that house or what that one sold for? And if so, then you build, trust and confidence, and you'd want to work with that person.
When you buy, do you find yourself at auctions very often?
Yeah, yeah. So we do attend a lot of auctions. Sometimes it can be a really great way to buy. It can be some of the, a really transparent way to buy to know where the other buyers are sitting and where their bids are at. So yeah, we definitely attend quite a lot of them because a lot of people are a bit freaked out by auctions. It's a high pressure environment. There's 100 or 200 people looking at you. There's maybe, 5, 8 bidders, and it's if you got to have a bit of a strategy, you got to know what's going to sort of unfold a lot of the time, and you've got to really know your numbers and what things are selling for to attend that, especially when you're representing a client of yours, because you don't want to make the mistake of looking like an idiot and not knowing what the property's worth.
Do you find yourself having a bit of a pre-auction ritual? Kind of gets you.
Yeah, so we always have a strategy session with our client prior to auctions. So usually we'll attempt to secure a property prior to auction if there's the opportunity and the vendor's open to the idea. Sometimes that can just be used against you as a reserve price. So you have to really feel it out as well prior to doing that and seeing if it's worth it. But yeah, prior to the auction, if we're going to attend and bid on behalf of a client, we'll have a strategy session. We'll go over comparable sales numbers and what the features of this property has versus another sale in the street, why this one might be worth more than this one or less than the other one. Discuss that in detail, and then basically we go over our strategy and the way we're going to bid and set a price limit, a walk away number. And I can't give away all the secrets.
Yeah, of course.
But that's basically how it works in a nutshell.
Well, I think you're already, streaming ahead in both your delivery and then in your marketing, but being able to back that up with those strategies, being able to back it up with, and that there's so much to be said for experience, that longevity of being in the market. Question I have around first home buyers and building their first home. Land's expensive, so probably not building within the first 10 k's of Brisbane. But do you come across that often, or is it really now they're just trying to get into the market in some way, apartment, villa, townhouse?
Yeah, so for first-time home buyers, I do come across quite a few people that do want to buy land and build their dream home. A lot of them are scared of doing that because of COVID prices, materials, blew out, builders going bust, a lot of people paying deposits or paying builders and then never seeing them again. So a lot of people got scared and that sort of, gone quite quiet. But in supporting those sorts of clients, I always, suggest a local trusted builder. You want to see the financials, make sure they're in a good position to be able to actually follow through with the build, because I came across a story recently where there was a builder working for a client, not of ours, but ended up misappropriating funds to cover another project, and that ended up being found out, and they were out of pocket quite a bit. So it's important to really know the financial situation of the builder, make sure they're trusted, they're known, look for a referral, someone that's worked with them before, and that can vouch for them before going ahead. Getting really clear on the spec of build,
And
price per
the
square meter.
expectations,
Yeah.
yeah, and expectations around the particular outcome of the build. Everyone's got high, wants and
Everyone's got the
desires.
champagne taste of the beer
Beer
budget, typically.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was saying around the land component. Land prices are going through the roof, even though there is still that risk mitigation coming, and sitting people there. What we like to do on the pod is every week we go through, or every episode, we would like to invite our guests to choose a suburb, and then we have short-fire questions of over 60 seconds on that particular suburb. It can be a suburb that you love working in, an area that you live, or area that you love in general or want to live. But I want you to pick a suburb, and then I will give you 60 seconds of questions about that suburb, just whatever comes off the tongue. And then Eugene is going to go around a financial.
I'll give you some price points.
Yeah.
I'd love to know the suburbs that you would pick.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go. All right, we'll go south side, hey? Camp Hill.
Camp Hill. We haven't had Camp Hill. Camp Hill, love Camp Hill. A lot of development been going on in Camp Hill. 60 seconds starts now. What's the number one thing buyers love most about Camp Hill?
It's owner occupied predominantly, so it's really family friendly. It's got close proximity to Brisbane CBD. It's very rarely congested with traffic. Lots of green spaces, parks, good schools, and lots of nice high-end homes. A mix of luxury, modern, Mediterranean, and character.
Beautiful. And what's the biggest mistake people make when buying in Camp Hill?
They don't understand the constraints around a property if they're looking to build, what to look out for in terms of services, slope, location, streets, things like that, because prices can differ hugely between, one street and another street, a couple of streets.
It's quite
away.
hilly around that region as well.
It is,
if you're going
definitely.
to buy not cheap, but you buy entry and then maybe develop over time. That can add certain costs in.
So not doing their due diligence.
Yeah. So which Camp Hill street delivers the strongest long-term growth, in your opinion?
Probably the Avenues precinct. It's probably my favourite pocket. That and the Martha Street precinct. So the Avenues precinct is like Hobart Ave, Melbourne Ave, and Brisbane Avenue. There's some of the and Sydney Ave, and they're probably the best streets, I would say, in my opinion. And then you've got Martha Street, Newman Avenue in the Martha Street precinct there. That's also, some of the best areas to buy into.
Incredible
and that have
insights.
seen the best growth.
So that is incredible insights, especially down to that street level. And I think, buyers looking into that will always be looking for value. But is Camp Hill still undervalued, or has the market now caught up?
I think that I don't think it's undervalued by any means, because the lack of supply is still there. There's a huge undersupply of housing. As soon as a knockdown rebuild pops up, for example, they're getting snapped up. Recently an agent just sold a 607 block for $2.5 million in the suburbs. So, it was only a couple of months ago you could pick one up for 1.4 to 1.6, and now you're looking at multiple ones well over 2 million. So it's
And
it's
it was right
definitely
next to a new build, wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So
So there was precedence of where it was going to head, and it's just cooking all over.
So yeah, I don't think it's undervalued. No.
What's the most overlooked? What's the most overlooked part of Camp Hill buyers should be considering?
The overlooked part. I think a location, when you're buying in a location, I think you want to look for a unique aspect to the property. Typically a draw card. So either city glimpses, city views, maybe a nice big street frontage for that street appeal. And then obviously the size of the block of land. Would I look out for a pool? No, it wouldn't be like unless you're buying a luxury home and you know you're buying your forever home. I wouldn't really be worrying so much about a pool. Yeah,
Character or new build? What performs better in Camp Hill?
depends what your strategy is. Like if you're looking to you know add value later on down the track, you'd obviously go for something a little bit older that's character. But I would look for a post-war so that you could knock down and rebuild in the future if you wish to, or if you go to on sell. But if I was just looking to park some funds, I would put it into a new build potentially if I didn't want to do any work and just let it sit there and grow because the suburb has performed consistently over the last few years. So
Fantastic. And what price point would be the most competitive in Camp Hill right now?
I would say the most competitive price point right now would be sub 1 million, so units, so 211, just a walk up brick, 1980s build, 6-pack, 8-pack, 10-pack, those sorts of things are the most competitive right now.
Just wanting to get in there, get to know the suburb.
Yeah.
And what's the one thing locals know about living in Camp Hill?
That it is a family-friendly suburb and that it is a safe, area to live. It's got those parks, it's got those schools, and it's got that real close drive to the CBD that everyone loves. And it's just got that mix of leafy streets. Like it's got nice, wide open, leafy streets a lot of the time, and just nice, good people.
Amazing. And I'm going to start adding this one in from week to week. Where's the best place to get either a coffee or a cold beer?
I'd probably say Florence or Ray's for a
Florence
beer.
is cool. On the corner there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been running for many years now, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's a great spot there.
Yeah.
I love it.
Good stuff.
And finally, just if someone can expect just one property in Camp Hill this weekend, where are you sending them?
Ooh, one property this
Or what
weekend.
streets? Doesn't have to be a property per se, but street or area, the avenues.
I would look in the Avenues precinct. There is a property coming up. I believe that's being launched today. So keep an eye out for that one.
And we're about the mid-November at the moment, so
it might already be sold by the time you see this. Most likely it will
it might
sell.
have already been sold. Fantastic.
All right.
Yeah.
We're almost there, but I always love to do this. All right. So let's say you have $5 million. Where are you buying?
If I had $5 million, where would I park it right now?
Any suburb, anywhere in Australia.
Anywhere in Australia.
Any
Even New Zealand.
Yeah. Well, I do have the development background, so I would probably look at buying a few post-war houses around Brisbane. I'd probably buy one in Camp Hill, one in Coorparoo, one in Audley Grange, and that would probably be it. That's probably all you could buy is three. I'd say if you get lucky, yeah.
And so this doesn't leave a lot of money to renovate or develop them.
No, that would be more of a park and hold.
Okay,
Yeah.
good strategy.
All right. What about 3 mil?
With 3 mil, I would buy a splitter block in probably somewhere like Clayfield, Hendra. Yeah.
Split
A splitter block is an 810 square meter block of land with a 20 meter frontage on 2 lots with 1 title. So you can subdivide it into 2 405s and build 2 new homes and then resell or hold or do whatever you like with them. Yeah.
And it's, well, of course, Hendra's the best suburb.
You obviously live there, right?
Live there, develop there, own there,
Yeah.
sell there.
Yeah.
I love Hendra, but that's another story. But I think that's quite important about that idea of a splitter block from a developer's perspective. You're wanting that post-war to make it easier. Is that right?
Absolutely, because there's other constraints and stuff. If it's not post-war, you can run into a few hurdles to be able to get an older Queenslander or something. Yeah, there's a few details around it, but yeah, sometimes you can get them removed if they don't have a character overlay and things like that. But the safest option, I just wouldn't touch anything that was pre-war unless I wanted to. Unless the house was in such a premium street or location that I was happy to take on the old Queenslander, raise it, renovate it, cost a lot more money than a post-war house. You can buy it, you can knock it down, and then you can just rebuild a brand new home, and you don't have to renovate and keep the current facade and things like that.
So that's literally sending a bulldozer through it if you get approval, or if it's post-war. And the council allows it.
Yeah. So essentially, there's a mapping system online that you can go to with the council, which is an aerial mapping where it basically shows you satellite imagery of Brisbane and the houses. And if the mapping is of post 1946, so if the house does not show up in on that mapping, then you can essentially knock it down, okay, and rebuild because it was built post the war. If the house is showing up on that mapping, then basically you can't remove it, or it's extremely difficult to remove. Yeah.
Great piece of insight there.
And so go ahead. You 1 million or 2 million?
That's all right. One more left. 1 million.
1 million. Well, where would I buy?
Where would I buy?
Where can you buy? Well, to be fair, I've got an investor at the moment that wants me to buy them 6 properties at 1.2 million right now, and they're blowing up my phone to get that done. So look, areas that I would look at is within 20-kilometre radius of Brisbane CBD. There's a number of suburbs on both, south side and north side. But if I had $1 million, I would be looking out at areas like Aspley, Everton Park, Everton Hills, those sorts of locations. If you can, if you're chasing a 600 block, if you're happy with something a little bit smaller than that, you obviously just bring that in and look at areas, with 405s and in areas more like, Mitchelton or, Wavell Heights, if it's possible, probably not.
So the ship is sailed, right? It's crazy.
Yeah. So if you just stay within the ring, I would say of 20 Ks, you'd have a pretty good chance of getting a post-war house on 600 square meters for $1 million out that way on the north side. On the south side, it does make it a lot more challenging. There's not really a whole lot of areas that you can. You almost have to go out to Ipswich now to get a house for $1 million. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
And the expectation factor, I think, that we began with, people's expectations have to change.
Yeah.
Either it's going to be a massive change in the pricing of properties, up or down, and either way, you're probably not going to stay stagnant.
But yeah, if you weren't looking to buy a house with land for $1 million, I would always focus location, because location does 80% of the heavy lifting when it comes to capital growth. So I would just turn to a small walk-up unit, a 221 or a 222 in as close to the CBD as possible. So you could still, secure something around, Ascot, Clayfield, Hendra. You can still get in these good locations. And on south side, Bulimba, Balmoral, Morningside, these sorts of locations, Camp Hill, Coorparoo, you can still get some good properties in these areas for that sort of price. Yeah.
Look, Jack, your insights are second to none. I really appreciate being able to, again, I'll go back to the generation thing, but just, at your age, to have such a grasp of the market, such experience in the market. I could see, if I was, 20, 30 years of age and I was looking to buy my first home, having that guidance and advice from somebody who's been there and done it, that sort of thinks the way your generation does, and has that knowledge in the market and the connections in the market. I think, it's so fascinating to hear from you. So I really appreciate you coming on.
No, I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, blown away by your knowledge, the depth of your knowledge about all these different suburbs. You speak so eloquently and fluidly about these areas, like you know them like back of your hand, which I'm sure you do.
I do.
So,
Yeah, I do. I'm driving them. I'm driving the streets every day. Trust me, I'm on the road a lot. So yeah, it's my job and I love it, which is the best part about it. Like if I wouldn't do it if I wasn't passionate about it, and yeah, I think that's super important. So to be passionate about what you do and how you do it. And the thing I love most about it is that I'm not very good at, focusing on paperwork and doing the same task, over and over, day in, day out. So, doing an office job or working for someone else was never going to be what I could do or what I wanted to do. But this job gives me that option where every day is completely different. Some days you might wake up and you might not think any deal is going to happen, and then you might buy a house at the drop of
At 11 o'clock
of
that
a
morning.
phone call, yeah,
Yeah.
and that can be life changing sometimes. So yeah, it's a very interesting position to be in, seeing buyers, sellers, the market, and being able to do something like that.
Well, I love how measured the position is that you're in.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to hold you instead for a long way. So we'd love to continue to track your story and have you back on the podcast next year. So people can find you at Jack on Property.
Yeah, Jack on Property
Instagram.
on Instagram. So my name is Jack Freestone, and you can find our business account, Buyers Collective, which is just buyers_collective on Instagram as well. That's the handle.
Yeah, and website.
Yeah, the website's just www.buyerscollective.com.au.
So all of those will be linked below the episode. There'll be a bio there on Jack and his team. If you are a first-time buyer and you do need guidance and advice, take the opportunity to speak to Jack and his team. Walk the streets, meet him on a Saturday at Florence, for instance, in Camp Hill, and get out and see what he does. Right, like that ability to have the knowledge gap removed by finding the right buyer's agent, but seeing what they do if you're looking as a buyer or a first-time buyer is so critical. You can also see Jack at his profile on buyersagents.com.au or throughout any of his socials. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. Hit the red button around to subscribe to the next episode that's coming out. We value all of your feedback, we value your comments, and we'd love to hear from you. So thanks very much for joining us. And this is the Buyer's Agent Podcast. I'm Leon Hayes. Thanks for joining us.